Hi, my name is Simha Reddy. I'm a primary care doctor here in Seattle. If you're watching this, it's probably because you're interested in learning a little bit more about the mRNA COVID vaccine, which I'll try and teach a little bit about today. You may also be one of my patients.
I'm not one of your patients.
That's my partner, Silas Reddy, who's helping us out with the camera work today. And hey, partner, do you have any questions yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is the vaccine good and safe?
That's a great question. That's basically the same question I've been asked by my patients over the last year, and especially right now. Is a vaccine trustworthy? Is it safe? Is it effective? And how does it work? And I'll try to answer those questions now. Let's start with that idea of trust. How in the world could a vaccine have been created from beginning to end, be ready to go in a single year? People are understandably a little bit skeptical, and frankly I was too. But there are a couple things that have made me feel more comfortable with this vaccine. So the first is that this is basically the biggest medical effort that's ever been undertaken. This is unprecedented, the amount of time, money, and people power that's gone into this. And this wasn't just like a single group or a couple groups working on vaccines. This is dozens across the entire world all at once. And the vaccines that have come out are the ones that kind of rose to the top, the ones that came out as most effective, safest, and quickest to production. And so it makes sense that this would all happen faster, given the amount of effort that's gone into it. But the other piece, and I think this is really important, is the realization that this is not a brand new vaccine, actually. This approach to vaccines are not brand new. So first, if you recall, there was something called MERS or SARS some years back. These are both coronaviruses. Yes?
I know that it's this coronavirus is called SARS-CoV-2. Why is it called SARS? Those two coronaviruses.
That's a great question. So you may bring up a good point. So this virus today is called SARS-CoV-2. It's really similar to the SARS virus that we saw some years back. As far as what SARS means, I actually don't even know. It's some acronym, something, respiratory syndrome, I think. It goes to show how closely related these things are. And so if you have a vaccine against the first one, which people started working on soon after those outbreaks, it was pretty easy to tweak it just a little bit and have it ready to go as soon as they isolated this strain, SARS-CoV-2. And so once you had that strain isolated, you make that tweak, and you had a vaccine basically ready to try within a couple of weeks. So this was back in January and February of last year. So this last year has not been the creation of a vaccine. This last year has been testing the vaccine, which brings us to this idea of safety, right? When you look at these trials, and the Pfizer clinical trial, for example, you find that they're really, really safe. A lot of people do have side effects, and when I say side effects, what I mean is about half of people get a sore arm and feel tired for about 1 to 2 days. You might also feel muscle aches, just kind of run down, but this is all 1 to 2 days. Nothing that actually put anybody in the hospital or sent somebody to an emergency room. That's not to say that people can't have an allergic reaction. A handful of people have, but this is pretty rare. Overall, the safety profile of these vaccines is really, really good. So I trust the vaccines. I think the process by which they were created and tested were good. I think the protocols were appropriately followed in the clinical trials. I think the safety has been demonstrated in that there are no really serious adverse events. Most side effects were pretty mild to moderate. And here's the other huge thing. Incredibly effective. So in the Moderna trial you saw, yes?
I'm looking at the whiteboard behind you, and I'm wondering, what does mRNA stand for?
That's a great question. Let me talk about that. Let me just mention the effectiveness.
Okay.
So the Moderna vaccine is about 94% effective against the virus a couple weeks after your second dose. And the Pfizer one is about 95% effective against COVID virus after your second dose. And that is incredible. Vaccines don't usually get So this is really, really good. And you were asking about this picture behind me.
Yeah.
Well, this is my attempt at drawing a COVID vaccine, or a SARS-CoV-2 virus particle. This is kind of what it looks like. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the mRNA COVID vaccine. You were asking about this part, the mRNA.
Yeah.
Other people who are listening might have heard about that mRNA COVID vaccine. What does that mean? So this vaccine is a little bit different than the usual flu shot. It's just, and let me explain it a little bit. I'm going back to basics. So this is a normal cell in the body, maybe a muscle cell, a nerve cell, heart cell, whatever. Every cell in your body has the whole cell and then inside a nucleus. And inside that nucleus is your DNA. Every cell has DNA in it that is unique to you. Nobody else has it unless you're an identical twin.
Or a clone.
Or a clone. If you have a clone, you have the same DNA. That's true. And the way stuff works in your body normally is your DNA is an instruction manual for your whole body, and when you need to send out a single instruction, you make a little copy and send it out, and that's called mRNA. And then that gets translated into something your body needs, like a protein of some kind. Whatever. So that's how it normally works in the body. The mRNA COVID vaccines use the same process to create a really effective vaccine response. So what happens is you get injected with mRNA, and those kind of get inside your cell, but can't get inside your nucleus. And what they do is they get trained. Your body sees the mRNA, and thinks, oh, look, there's some instructions. Let's follow the instructions. And it creates these things, which are spike proteins. That's what you saw in the big picture. Yes, Silas?
Why? I noticed if I know that it's like your body makes it, and then a few days after it realizes it's not supposed to be there. But when the coronavirus, I know it's supposed to help your body recognize those spike proteins, but the coronavirus looks a lot different from the spike proteins.
So yeah, how your body, this spike protein looks different from this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how does it work? That's a great point. So your body actually just needs something to latch onto, something to recognize that something is wrong. It doesn't need to know what the entire coronavirus looks like. It just needs something to catch onto. Okay. So a couple things. You get the mRNA from the vaccine. That turns into spike proteins. That mRNA degrades and goes away, just like normal mRNA does in your body, really quickly.
So they don't make any more spike proteins?
It makes enough that it stops making spike proteins after a little bit.
So,
it makes enough for your body to recognize it.
That when your body can only make a protein only if the mRNA, it's like the instructions, only if the mRNA is here. There.
That's right. Yeah, so your body can only make a protein if the mRNA is there to make the protein, is there for it. And once that mRNA goes away, there's no more instruction manual to copy it from, so you don't get any more of that mRNA. So the whole thing dissolves, you stop making spike proteins, and the vaccine is done. But while those spike proteins are in your body, your white blood cells will see those floating around, realize that there is something wrong, that is not supposed to be there, and these white blood cells will chew up those spike proteins, get used to it. And then what they will do is destroy all the spike proteins, and learn what they look like. And eventually, your body will have other white blood cells, like a whole bunch of these, that will just remember the spike protein. So the next time it actually sees this thing, it'll look at this, realize, hey, I've seen that before, and go after the whole virus. And it'll do it really fast because it already knows what to look for. So that's how the vaccine works.
So the coronavirus doesn't have time to spread.
That's exactly it. The coronavirus doesn't have time to spread. In your usual body, usually the coronavirus would land in your body, spread, and then your body would figure out how to recognize it and destroy it. If you get the vaccine ahead of time, your body learns to recognize it, so as soon as the coronavirus hits you, knocks it out, eats it up, and destroys it. That's why it's so effective. It's 94 or 95% effective. And that second booster shot helps your body remember even better. So overall...
So that's why there's two, not one like the flu.
Right. Yeah, so it may turn out that one shot is enough, but right now all we know, based on the clinical trials, is that 2 shots is what you need for it to be good and effective. So here's what we know. This virus got created really fast over the course of a year, but most of it's actually been just in testing. Like the vaccine was created really quickly using this new mRNA technology. The whole last year has basically been making sure that it's safe and effective, and it is safe and it is effective, like really effective. And here's a little bit about how it works. That you get mRNA, which turns in, your body uses to create these spike proteins so that your body can learn to recognize it and then destroy coronavirus and keep it from spreading within your body. So overall, I'm recommending it for all my patients. I took it myself. I'm getting my second shot tomorrow. I'm going to ask my family to get it when they're eligible to get it, and I hope they do, and you choose to as well. If you have questions, you should talk to your doctor or provider and make sure those get answered, because it's really important you know what's going into your own body. Thanks for listening.